Hey guys, welcome to today's lesson on solo piano textures. So have you guys ever sat down to play a tune all by yourself and just kind of felt like you had no idea what to do? If you have, let me know in the comments. I've definitely been there many times. In fact, I used to show up for solo piano gigs and basically just play exactly the same way as I would with a rhythm section, which ended up just sounding empty and lame. Today, I'm gonna help you guys get over that wall. I'm gonna teach you some awesome textures and different ways of thinking about solo piano so that you guys can immediately jump in and start applying this stuff and sounding better when you're playing by yourself. So just to start off the lesson, let's just come up with a random melody here that we can use to demonstrate the textures. All right, cool, so let's go with that. Now the way you would normally do this is actually a lot like what I just did. You just play the melody with some voicings that you already have under your fingers. A lot of my students actually show up and that's exactly what they're doing. They're playing a melody in their right hand with some basic voicings that they already have under their fingers in their left hand, and then maybe when they improvise, they play some left hand voicings. And here's the thing, guys, there's so much more we can do, and once you start opening up your mind to what's possible, you're actually gonna have a much better time playing solo. So let's get started here by just thinking about the piano in a different way. So we're not just playing a melody with chords here, guys. The piano is our orchestra. And if you were a composer, you would definitely not simply write a whole song in one register, always arranging everything the same way. You would take advantage of the whole spectrum and utilize different instruments that you have at your disposal. So let's do the same thing. Let's, this time, take our melody and then fill in the gaps in a totally different register than we're playing it. So to me, guys, that already sounds significantly more interesting, and all we're really doing is just filling in the gaps with a different register of the piano. Now, another simple thing we can do is break that common practice of always having the melody be in the right hand. So let's actually take the melody now and play the chords in our right hand instead. So to me, that was also really beautiful. In fact, I almost preferred the melody down there. I really like how that sounds in that register. So the whole point here, guys, is look how simple these changes are that we're making. Hopefully this is opening up your mind to how much you can do in terms of arranging even just a simple melody when you're playing solo piano. Now, another really important part of solo piano that's gonna add a lot of vocabulary is gonna be learning some runs, especially two-handed runs when you're playing by yourself. So those work as fantastic fills, and they can also really outline the harmony or the harmonic changes between chords. Let me show you what I mean. So rather than playing a lot of just stagnant voicings, instead, I'm actually doing a lot of arpeggiation, and it adds a lot of flow to what you're doing. It adds so much movement. We're covering the entire register of the piano, and it's just a really beautiful way of playing a ballad. And really quick, guys, speaking of runs, I did just release 36 runs in arpeggios, which has a lot of beautiful two-handed runs that are really useful for solo piano. So if you're interested in that, check out jazzpianoconcepts.com/store. I'll put a link in the description. And every single sale, guys, I really appreciate it because it goes straight toward me having the time to keep making videos like this for you guys. Now, another thing that I don't see people do enough is actually take some textures from classical piano. So one beautiful thing that we could do is essentially just arpeggiate our left hand instead of playing a stagnant chord, but keep playing the melody normally in our right hand. So this to me is something Chopin would commonly do, right? And even someone like Brad Meldau does this a lot. But let's just keep it really simple, and let me show you an example of what I mean. Instead of playing just a voicing, which is nice too, but just overused in general, we just arpeggiate the voicings. And speaking of arpeggiating the left hand, so we were just arpeggiating left hand voicings, but what if we do larger arpeggiation? What if we actually essentially play arpeggios starting with a low bass note and then doing an open interval, maybe even like a tenth? Something like that, right? That's also very Chopin-esque to me. Yet another beautiful texture that I would bet a lot of you guys are not utilizing when you play solo piano. Now, so far guys, we've been talking just about ballads, but let's actually talk about what you can do now if you're playing a tune a little bit more up-tempo. So let's actually just do a new version of our melody that's in 4/4 time around here. 2, 2, 3. So that was just a demonstration, but what I was just doing to me was actually a bit boring. I'm basically just playing left hand chords and the melody in my right hand as if there was a rhythm section there backing me up. But there's not. What are some simple things we can do to spice up our left hand here? Well, one thing we can do is, again, go back to the concept of our left hand not just being a harmonic device, but actually being a melodic device. So what if instead we start arpeggiating our chords a bit and forming melodies in our left hand? Or something like this. Now, let's say we do actually want to be doing left hand voicings and just playing our melody. Well, in my opinion, you should still be doing more than simply playing the left hand voicings. You should also be throwing in voicings that utilize the root. So you could be doing things like tenths, or if your hand's too small, just octaves. And then we use that as almost a bass note. So in other words, we actually do a combination of chords that do have roots and chords that are rootless. And that combo gives us enough of the bass material that we hear the relationships between the chords. And to me, that sounds better than simply playing a bunch of open voicings in the left hand, at least when you're playing solo piano. And yet another trick that I was just doing here was sometimes when I'm even improvising or playing a melody, on some notes, I'll actually voice chords with that melody. So not all of them, but I'll pick and choose where it feels right to do it. All right, guys, I know I'm overloading you here, but another thing that we can be doing is actually moving our voicings around the keyboard. So don't just play one voicing and call it quits. If you have the facility with the voicings, try to actually come up with a different way to voice a melody so that you can actually essentially move from voicing to voicing as you play a melody in your right hand. So I'm just going to improvise a melody over these chords. And I'm not going to go too far into the details of what I was just doing there, guys, but a lot of it was based in drop 2 voicing. So if that's something you're interested in being able to do, check out drop twos. All right guys, well I think that's a ton of different textures and tricks that you guys can use to sound better playing solo piano. Please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of the video and if you have any questions that I can help out with. Thanks so much for watching guys. If you're new to the channel, please consider clicking subscribe and clicking the bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss any more videos like this. And as always guys, I really appreciate a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Thanks guys, and I will see you next time.